really for someone specific. It's not investment advice, just showing my analysis on it and just kind of giving an idea. Anyway, let's just kind of get into this. Anyone that's seen any of the previous videos, this is kind of be an update. Anyone that's seen the previous videos, there's really nothing new happening here. Really, we had caution. The main thing that we've talked about, let's go to the dollar. We talked about our 1-2, and it's not really just coming in here and starting up here. Even though there was concern here, this, of course, I remember calling this the reason why I'm not surprised about this is the indices look pretty decent for what they were in conjunction with the Fed stuff. So it wasn't much of a surprise that this happened. I don't think there's going to be any kind of crazy Fed stuff coming up soon. So the main thing about this is somewhat okay. This was like we weren't surprised. This is too much selling. This is too much selling. This is too much selling. So long story short, we're just oversold here. No surprise that we came back. And it's the same, it's not the exact same, but it's the same principle of oversold conditions into a reversal, essentially, is what we're looking at. And so I'm not really surprised about this. So let me just show this on the day time frame. We can go here. And this is kind of my concern, right? Now, this looks pretty decent. We can see higher low than what we have over on the left side, right? We can just kind of see that. And then we have the day time frame. So the week time frame looks good. That's one of the first things that we're looking at. This is what we call this the one, right? And then, right, this is where all the good stuff is. And then on the day time frame, so the week looks good, the day time frame up here. So really to be worried, or like take profit, like in the most layman kind of terms, we want to see, we're looking for like a possible two, which would just be starting above the week time frame here. It's kind of hard to say where specifically because it's 104.2 just about, but it's going to be like 104.24 something next week. So it's an average that goes up every week, right? It moves, it's an average. So that's kind of like the big thing there. I imagine we're going to keep moving up. I don't see how this stops. The big difference from here, not just the Fed stuff, is also we can just look at the NASDAQ, right? We have the buy point on the 13th here on the Dow Jones. We had the buy point on the, oh no, I'm sorry, it's not here. It was right here on the 4th, right? And also on the SPY here on the 11th, the following week. So the main point about this is like the SPY could be fine. Like the big, like, oh, we want to take profit is essentially, or like, not like we want to take profit like that, but the big concern for me, or like from the investment standpoint of like, we don't want to fall back under here. Let's just look at it this way. It's like so much easier just to look at it this way. Look at the previous data. So, right, we can see here by looking at the previous data, falling under here is pretty bad. We're only under one. We're only under one. Now we're under two, right? We're under both of them with the 200 smooth down here for the week time frame. So this is kind of the concern. So yes, it does go down. It doesn't mean it doesn't come up. But if you're going to take profits, right, it just makes sense. Right, we can just see. I'm not going to go into it too much. It's not really that complicated. So, right, I'm not going to waste time. So what we can see here essentially is the difference that we had before when the dollar was there is really the Fed stuff, but also that all the indices look good at that point, besides the SPY, but the Dow and the NASDAQ look good at that point. Now they can all come down, even from where they are now. The SPY can come down another 2.6%. NASDAQ can come down another, I don't know what this is. I mean, technically, if we're looking at under both, the NASDAQ can come down another, what is it, 756. So the NASDAQ can come down another about 7%, which is ridiculous, and still be fine. Like, right, it's not coming down here. It's starting a week under or having price action, bad price action under. And yeah, and for the Dow, it's probably something similar. I think it's a lot less for the Dow, though, to be honest. No, it's still pretty up here. We can just do this real quick. For the Dow, it's like, what, 3%? Right? And it's not coming down here. It's having price action under this, similar to, right? We can see here what happened last time. Boom, boom. Right? This isn't rocket science. It's really not rocket science. So the way to kind of look at this at the next level, getting out of layman stuff, is that the one, when you have oversold conditions like this and you have this reversal, the one is be cautious. So the one, and essentially be cautious means revert to whatever stock, underlying stock that you're looking at. I mean, it could be an ETF or something else. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you're trading, and be cautious. If there's weakness on that, like this is where, like, this cautiousness is where you think about repositioning. You think about, do I want to get in, or like not in? If you're cautious, do I want to get out here? Do I want to take something off the table, just to be careful and readjust? Right. That's generally what you do when you're cautious. This is like, be careful. I'm not saying it's anything like this really whatsoever at all. This is 22, and this was also mainly driven by rates. So it's not really surprised. Though I will say another interesting thing. I'm not going to say it's like anything going to happen, but interestingly enough, we can see start there. We also have the week after a year or 2 years, the averages have actually come up. So this will be pretty interesting to see whether this actually continually pushes up here. I think it's a lot less likely. I don't really see how. Also, there's the USD, just to kind of cover this real quick. There's the USD JPY, which I don't think this can keep going up, not because of, like, we can just look at this, not because the central banks have to intervene with this. I don't think they can allow this to actually come up. I don't think they can actually allow this to come up because it's just going to destroy. Why do I not? There we go. Because it's just going to completely wreck. Let me see if I have it on this one. No, I guess I got rid of the fib. Anyway, the targets for this is essentially, if we push up from here, is anywhere between 30% to 45% of a loss of value for the Japanese yen to the dollar. I have a really hard time seeing that. But it is what it is with the price action. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happens at the end of the day and they end up having to do more cuts. That's not really a technical thing, but also at the same time, this isn't a technical thing. And you could be like, oh, it's a double top. It's not a double top. And both of these are central bank interventions, and like they see what's going on. It's pretty obvious what was going on. So, I mean, the first drop was 100% central bank intervention. So the ECB increased their rates when it was really sketchy. And there was also a whole bunch of selling of the dollar for the yen, specifically by the Japanese bank. So I wouldn't be surprised if stuff like that happens again. Now, from a TA perspective, it's kind of hard to see that we don't start up here, but we haven't. And this is still a cautious range, regardless of whatever crazy stuff AMD is doing. We want to see a breakdown back under here. I think it's a high chance that we come back down just the way it looks. We come back up, not all the way back to the line, and then we push back. We push back down. This is what I would expect. This is what I'm looking for, but that you don't trade off something that you're just looking for. You're looking, that's one of the possibilities I'm looking for and expecting to form. I don't like what we did last week, how we've been sitting here. We can see it on the shorter time frame here. I don't like how we've been sitting here because like it right now we have a nice base for a leg up. So it's just it just kind of is what it is, really, in a sense. So I mean, you can just kind of see, right? Boom, boom, boom. I mean, whoops, we can do it like this. It is what it is. Boom, 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 boom. Right. So really the question, if we can start a week up here, what does this essentially say now that we're up here and we've broken up above here? We can look at this here. It's kind of hard to say this is just going to stop us, right? Because a bulk of the data is really right here. So if we do start this week above, right, we have a decent chance for a leg up. From a TA perspective, it looks nice, unless the Fed comes in and does say something about, they're going to start, they could do early rate cuts, right? We have the whole year. They could do a couple early rate cuts, set that expectation that there's going to be a whole lot of rate cuts, and then just not really cut rates much more later in the year, right? That's definitely a way that you could do it. If you do it early, like you have your March rate cut, people could still think, oh, there's going to be 6 on the table or 5 on the table, or 4 on the table, which is still a pretty decent amount. I mean, even 2 on the table is a lot. All of it depends on how much they're going to cut it by, not so much quality over quantity, right? Or not how, I guess maybe they can both be kind of quantity in a sense, but how much they're going to do it over. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Not qualification. Well, yeah, no, it's just specific quantity. Yeah. But it's essentially like how much they're going to cut when they cut, and not just how many times they're going to cut. Both are quantity, I guess. But qualification is just, are they going to cut or not? I guess you could use qualification other ways, but not important. So that's kind of the basis for this. That's why this is really be cautious. Specifically, kind of like the point I was making of this. We can go then look to Apple. which is the reason why I made this. So when we look at Apple, what can we see here? It's really unfortunate. This is a buy. This is a buy point. This isn't. You can also buy here. This is pretty sketchy. I'm going to be honest for what it is that it's sitting here so long. We can see similarly the buy points that we had. I think this was in November, right? No, I don't remember when this was. I don't want to look. It doesn't matter. I don't really remember. Yeah. Okay. This is May. Wow, that was a long time ago. I definitely didn't remember. But yeah, you can see it back here when it came up. Boom, boom, boom. Right. So boom, boom, push up. So it's hanging here quite a bit. It's a little bit sketchy for what it is. A lot of this was the just getting downgraded, things like that, having trouble with I would like the Foxconn factory in China and some other things with their phone. I think with their something with their smartwatch or something else. I don't really remember. But anyway, from a TA perspective, what do we see? We're here. This is our range. We're oversold. So we expect to push back up here. This is where you take profits and then you wait to see it come back above the whole thing. So it kind of just is what it is at the same kind of sense when it just drops down like that. So there's only so much really that can be done. But the nice thing is you take profits here, you can always buy it back a little bit lower, right? Same thing here. When this first pushes under, you can take profits here. 177 comes all the way down to 167, right? 180 comes all the way back down to 165, right? You could take profits here at 181 or pretty much like 182. Look to get back in at like 189, right? And it still goes all the way up from 189 to 200, right? This is a little tragic for what it is, but from where it is, like the entry point, we could say like from here, this candle's a little sketchy, but anyway, from here. And so you're down 1.2%, right? So from the entry point to the exit point, it's only 1.2%. It's not that bad. That's really not that bad. Really, really isn't that bad whatsoever at all, especially looking from like an investment standpoint. Anyway, so we talked about that. We looked at the dollar. We talked about the concern here with the reversal and what it's done. Really, I think it's only a super huge concern if we start above. I think it's like 104.25. That should be what it is. Oh no, it's going to be more of that. It moves up like 70. This what 69 or something. I think. Let's just say it's 70 because I'm lazy, and let's say it's 70 again. So 104 point what? I'm lazy. 104.26, 26, it's 262, whatever. 104.262. Let's say 104.26 because that's what it's pretty much what it's going to be for next week. So if we see it start there next week and then just add 70 pips to that every time, pretty much. So it's just going up by 70 pips. It seems at this current point in time. So that's what we're kind of looking at. We can see weakness and other stuff. I've kind of pointed this out before. Just kind of show other stuff real quick. Let's do this. Bring the dollar here. Oh, I don't remember this. Oh, okay. That's because I'm zoomed in all the time. Okay. So let's just get this and let's go back on the week time frame. Right. So, all right, this is kind of the concern when it comes to Bitcoin and some of these other ones. And we'll see. I don't like when things stay up so high or they push up when this happens because like AMD is so high and it's just about to push new highs, I think, if it hasn't already. So something like AMD could come down really hard, but still be fine at the end of the day because it's just pushed up so high. So we can just see some kind of concerns. We have the reversal. We have our one. You can see the immediate cautiousness that enters the market when we look at Bitcoin, or for Bitcoin anyway. I don't want to say the market because you would kind of be talking about alts too. I don't want to look into alts for this. Anyway, so we can see our one right here. C1, we have the ETF, all the other stuff pushes back down. Makes sense. It's a cautious play for a lot of this stuff, in my opinion. So if we do see a 2, this could bring us down. We'll see what happens. I like this a lot less because we've been sitting up here. I don't really want to make any presumptions about what's going to happen. If we do have price action under, I think that's going to be a big issue here. So if we fall under 37,216 and then we start a week under and we're having some trouble, I'd have to probably see it start back above the top hole, which is 38,000 a week above there. That's the only thing that I really like about this. Everything else looks kind of crappy. Some other concerns, which really isn't a big deal. I mean, I don't think it's a big determinant on what's going to happen, is the VIX. It's just been sitting down here for so long. It's kind of hard to ignore what it's been doing. Um, right. So there's this kind of concern also as well. I don't think the VIX is really determinant. Um, at the end of the day, I don't really care. I might do something with Mara. I might pick some up if it drops. But at the end of the day, I'm still just waiting for Mara to do what I wanted it to do. I didn't mess with any of this. I have zero regret. Bunch of idiots. Complete, not idiots. I mean, there's people who made money trading this, but like more or less complete idiots. But this is what happens when people don't see what's going on and they only look at like one or two things. Like, why would you look at the indice and not, it doesn't make sense. Right? It's like if you want to know, what's the saying? It's like it's kind of like, what's your dream girl, right? Or what's your dream man? It's like, what's their family like, right? Or what's their support group like, or who are their friends like, right? There's to just look at and just to look at a stock and then to just look at an indice. It's like that's also can be affected by the VIX or the dollar index or like a Fed event. Like, why would you not look at these other things that can be just as big of a determining factor? Not all the time, but when they are, they are. So to not take a quick glance and just to make sure of those is just foolish. And I think personally, that's why a lot of people fail at trading. I don't think a lot of people are wrong with their calls. I think honestly, I truly think it's just they're not looking at everything that they need that actually influences what they're looking at. I really think that's the biggest issue with people in trading. I really do. I don't think it's anything else. It's like people that just trade alts without kind of keeping Bitcoin into consideration. It's no different. You can be right on the alt, but Bitcoin crashes or it shoots up, the alt value could get wrecked to Bitcoin and either way. So that's pretty much that. I don't think there's anything else to really go over. I mean, Microsoft's been doing great, so it's really nice to see how well this has been holding up. I was a little bit concerned, depending on what was going to happen with the dollar, because we do have this big open space, and we still do. But I mean, this looks like it'll be pretty heavily guarded if we do have a drop. Um, it'll probably just return to 77 or 377, which is pretty nice for what it is. We can see some nice stuff here also. I don't really want to get into this too much. I think this is back when Google did it too, right? And then we can look here, start above here, start under, get out, boom, get back in, right? It's all pretty standard kind of stuff. But the one nice thing about this is I don't really want to go into it too much. It kind of is what it is. It is what it is. So, and this is also like, I don't know, I don't want to get into it. This is also a reason why it's like there's different levels. The dollar really is just be cautious. Like I said, I think there's going to be central bank intervention that makes this all turn around again. And kind of, yeah, I don't think a lot of this is really going to matter. Now, the way that everyone's been so greedy, I definitely see this stuff coming down. But unless we come down under these other ones, it's kind of hard to see. Like the targets that I talked about in NASDAQ and some of the other places, it's really hard to see. Apple's a little more, because if I just look at Apple in a base sense, I'm essentially saying that, I mean, we could stop here, but I mean, it's kind of hard to say. It was pretty obvious all the way back here. Right? And we started back above 155.50. But I mean, it's somewhere, these are kind of our ranges right now, which is a little bit of the sketch part. I don't think it's just going to fall through, but I figured I'd make the video, do an update, and yeah, just kind of get it out there. So I don't really know if there's much else I want to get into. Like I said, I don't really want to talk about Bitcoin too much. I don't like it. Just the same thing I feel about Mara. I don't like what Bitcoin's done from a price action perspective. And it's hard to like, when we have this many weeks up here, this much buying up here, even though it's kind of like BS buying, it makes it a lot sketchier to like really just want to buy it back here. The only thing I like about this is the fact that the only thing I like about this is the fact that from where we had our nice buy point, we're just a little bit higher for where it is at 38K. That's the only thing I like about this right now. That's pretty much it. But as much as you guys know and seen again and again, I'm messing with Mara. That's pretty much it. And haven't messed with it for the last month. There hasn't been a reason to. I would have just lost a whole bunch. I did lose like 3.2 on it or something like that. Which expecting it to come down, which I waited one more week, I would have been up like 15K, 20K. It's not a big deal though. But we're just waiting for it to start back up, and then we'll play it that way. So we'll see what Bitcoin does in that same time. I think Mars is a good representation. So anyway, take care, y'all. Peace.